Hello, I want to dedicate these people. Oh. Hi, I want to dedicate this video to everybody who currently struggles with depression or anxiety. I know a little bit about how shitty it feels, but more than that, I am heartbroken by the amount of people who struggle with this, who take their life. Over 700,000 suicides every year. Like a state of Alaska is killing itself every year. And it's pissing me off. I am not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I am an adult learning specialist. I know quite a lot about some processes that take place in our brain. This was what I studied. I have a master's degree in learning and development, and I also did some studies before in my bachelor about neuroscience and neurolinguistics and how our brain functions and learns languages. So that's where I'm coming from, and I learned quite a lot about psychology through my life and through self-study. So this is one book that I read last year, Good Reasons for Bad Feelings. And I want to give you the angle or the perspective of maybe more positive approach to thinking about depression and anxiety, because they are presented as, something that happens to you and that it's bad because it makes you unproductive, ineffective, lethargic, and apathetic, and scared and paralyzed. And in that sense, it is a little bit bad. But I've been there too. I did have my own depressive episode. It was after the surgery of my thyroid. I did have an autoimmune disease. And the first moment I learned that's energy and the drive to do so many things, when I learned that this is not my personality, but actually a problem that I have and I need to take care of. This was tough. And I read some books about how this surgery, of course, before I did take the decision, I did my research. I've learned that this decision will put me on medication for the rest of my life, and if I don't get the medication, I might get depressed because of this hormonal imbalance. I might get depressed, I will put on weight, I will lose my hair. It's like not something you want to accept as a woman. So I did struggle a lot after this surgery without these hormones. I had my first ever panic attack, and at that time I was single and lived abroad alone. So it was tough. I did have friends visiting me occasionally, but I felt like, it was really, really tough. So I want to just talk about it because life changes and it's so dynamic, and sometimes we need some fresh perspective or some support, and we can't get it, especially when we are in the mental health global crisis. So relax, and maybe something will be useful to you. I'm not gonna solve your situation for you. I'm never gonna claim the ability to do this, but I can maybe with this knowledge help you manage your own symptoms a little bit better. Last year I read this book. It's called Good Reasons for Bad Feelings by Randolph Nesse. He is an evolutionary psychiatrist with a lot of clinical experience, and yes, even the subtitle says Insights from the Frontier of Evolutionary Psychiatry. And what I remembered from this book is the fact that depression and anxiety, we witness them on such a big scale that we have to start looking at them a little bit differently, because they could be our coping mechanisms and they could be very appropriate in specific situations. Might seem a bit abstract, so let me give you some examples. Depression makes us conserve energy. It makes us withdraw from society, and it could be useful in situations where we discover that we either face a loss of our status, so we want to withdraw so not many people see it. We need to preserve energy and cut on our activities in order to figure out a new strategy to move forward without the loss of the status, or we need to change our strategy because we discovered something that we wanted to obtain and we cannot obtain it, or something that we wanted to obtain is not taking as short amount of time as we wanted to. And I think that last point is very important in our current environment, because we are so used to getting stuff we want instantly. If you want something, you order it on Amazon and you have it in 2 days. And through technology, we don't have to, when I was at school, okay, all the grandma stories, make yourself comfortable. When I was at school, we didn't even have internet. So if I had a question that I needed to answer, I needed to get up, leave my home, take a bus, or walk 1 hour in the winter to the school to save money on the bus ticket because we didn't have so much money. Go to the library, talk to the librarian, look into the books to get my bloody answer. And now I sit in my pajama, I have a fascinating question in my head and I just put it in Google and I have my answer in less than a minute. This is one aspect, right? When we assume that something will take quickly and it takes longer, this could already lead us to try to preserve some energy, and that's exactly what depression helps us do, because we withdraw, we say no to everything, and we just go on like absolute functional minimum or even below that in order to deal with some situations. And I also want to highlight, I'm talking more about symptoms of depression. It doesn't have to apply to all the cases. So if you're getting help and the therapy and medication and it helps you, continue doing that and trust your people who know you better than me rather than me, okay? Don't hurt yourself. Depression conserves our energy, helps us deal with specific situations that seems to be further away than we anticipated. And it often has an onset of some desire that we cannot obtain. If you thought that you would get somewhere and this becomes impossible because of some changes, and the world is changing faster than ever. I already told this in my very first video. And if you feel like you're facing a status loss, this all tends to make you withdraw from your social circles, so you're not being perceived as a failure when you feel as one. And this is all aspects that we could take as evolutionary reasons to some extent for depression. Whew, that was a tough one, right? I want to also address anxiety as a coping mechanism. The metaphor I want to use, I think also Randolph Nesse used it in his book, is a fire alarm. Imagine you are a house, like your life is a house, or you have a house and you have a fire alarm. Imagine that you light a match and this fire alarm goes on. That would be anxiety. It's dysregulated. This fire alarm is not working properly. But then imagine that your whole house is full of smoke and the fire alarm does nothing. This is extreme bravery, this is recklessness. And that's also a specific system that's dysregulated. Surprisingly, we hear a lot about anxiety being a problem and we don't hear about the other part being a problem. Somehow courage is being bravery is being put on pedestal and anxiety is being perceived with weakness, which is a little bit unfair because they are both problematic. You need to try to get to the point where the fire alarm works as intended and doesn't react to a nice candle that helps you relax, or it does make you react when your whole house is on fire and you have to get out. So these are some mechanisms that we all have because we are all humans, so we all have them. Sometimes they work properly, sometimes they don't work properly, and that's when we need to take some action and get some help, perhaps. So this is the angle that I wanted to give you based on this book. And I wanted to do it because I think that a lot of us, a lot of humans face those challenges and they are not able to get enough insight or enough help or some different perspective that could help somebody, get forward in one way or another. So I wanted to share these insights from that book, and I can really recommend it if you want to dive deeper. I really wish you to enjoy the process wherever it takes you. I hope it takes you to a good place. That's the intention. And remember, nothing lasts forever. If you're going through hell, keep going. There is also this TED talk about how in African tribes people deal with depression. They just take somebody into the community and help them there. So don't fight your battles alone. If you can find somebody to help you find the battle, and maybe then you can also help somebody else. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wish you could tell me in the comments what is your main takeaway from this video. Yeah, that's it. Thanks. See you next Friday.